One spa had a milk bath, a seaweed wrap, a raspberry relaxer, a vanilla bean dip conditioner. Like, I don't have time for all this stuff, man. I just went to Denny's and rolled around the buffet.
Aside from being a comedian, I'm also a really great comedy writer. In fact, when I started out, I had strong material, just no stage presence. And now, aside from using jokes in my act and in my keynotes, I've also sold comedy material to tons and tons of people, from Jay Leno's Tonight Show monologue to syndicated cartoon strips, hundreds of radio stations, CEOs for speeches, keynotes, companies such as wart removal cream makers, and salespeople such as realtors who want to beef up their client letter. If I worked really, really hard, I think I could actually make a living at freelance comedy writing. I've never tried to be on staff for a sitcom or anything because that felt too much like a day job. But the freelance stuff was and is still coming in strong. I get asked a lot, how do I get these gigs? Well, the biggest way I get them is by networking. The radio writing gig was probably the biggest one I've gotten. It was for a group of radio stations around the country, and I sold jokes to them for years. I got it because I knew a comedian who wrote for these guys. And so when I was moving out to LA, I called him and asked if there was any way he could recommend me. My friend immediately said, sure. He'd seen my act and he knew I was a good writer. I was thinking I'd need the writing credits for LA, but it turned out to be much better than that. The key here to getting this gig is that I went through a comedian who I knew, and I asked him if he would recommend me. Years later, after I'd been writing for this radio group, another comedian who I didn't know very well asked me about this gig. I did not offer any information about it because I didn't know him well, but he guessed who the radio group was. Then he went around my back and contacted them using my name. Of course, the group called me to verify him, and I got furious. I told the radio guys that this comedian went behind my back and that I can't recommend him. Then I called the comedian and said, how dare you use my name? I have a dozen other people I'd recommend before you because I hardly know you. He didn't back down much. He just sort of said he didn't really want the gig anyway. Don't do that. Networking with others and asking around are really great ways to find writing gigs. Hang out at the local comedy club or open mics and make friends, and you'll get some great connections. Networking is also how I was able to sell jokes for a syndicated cartoon strip and for greeting cards. I met comics who did those things, and I asked if they could help me do them too. And by the way, greeting cards pay really well, but I think they're the hardest form of humor writing because they want specific yet general jokes, like a Mother's Day card for mothers of any age with kids of any age. I sold a bunch of jokes, but it was harder than you think. I don't hang around comedy clubs these days to get writing gigs, but I have gotten several clients at my corporate events by watching their keynote and then sending them some lines they could use. I then introduce myself as a comedian, keynote speaker, and comedy writer. Giving away a few free jokes to give them a sample of what I can do for them is a great way to start the conversation, much better than just outright asking. Also, Google and my website have worked really well. I used to run ads on Google, but I haven't in the past year because I don't have time to write the jokes. But I'm still getting really good calls from big companies. The takeaway tip from this is to network, network, network. That really is the key to my success with joke writing clients. And if you want to do something, then it's the key to success for you too. Meet as many people as you can and hang out as much as you can. You'll find yourself with a lot of opportunities. That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. Feel free to check out my website, theworklady.com. This is Jan. Take care and enjoy your journey.